All right, I want to welcome you guys to the very first episode of The Subconscious Shift. I am your host, Derrick Wali Anderson. I'm happy to have you guys join me. This is a long time coming, a long time in the making. And I'm the founder of Dream with the Deadline, where we help high performers finish what matters most. Now, if you ever felt like you're capable of more, but couldn't quite break through, you are in the right place. This show is where we help you rewire, and we do that by helping you to understand how you think, how you feel, and how you perform. It's all about your identity and what you're aligned with. So you're meant to live a life that's fully intentional, and you want to max out in every way you can as far as being productive, being happy, making money, whatever the case may be. You're in the right place because it's all about reprogramming, uninstalling those patterns that do not serve you and installing the ones that move you forward. So we're going to show you how to close the gap, kind of shorten that distance between who you are and who you want to become. And today, I want to begin with this story, kind of where it all started for me. Not just show you how this came to be, but how I learned the hard way that someday isn't coming. And I titled today's episode is "This is the moment I stopped waiting for someday." So it's a real story. Okay, so on March 13th, 2025, 7 months to the day, my father passed away. And it wasn't just grief that broke me. It was a moment where I realized something even heavier. For years, I fantasized and I dreamed about being able to get to a place where I can finally take care of my parents. And unfortunately, that dream died the day my dad passed. Regret like that just doesn't fade, doesn't go away. But I believe you can be intentional and use it to carve you into becoming something better. That pain, that grief became my turning point, my breaking point. And I made a vow to myself that I would not leave something so meaningful unfinished. So during the final days and weeks, funerals, closing out his accounts, cleaning out his apartments, trying to do the best I can to keep family members sane and sound. I realized that helping other people allowed me a little bit of relief, and it gave me a moment of clarity where I could find some sense of calm. That it got to a point where I realized that serving other people helped me feel more fulfilled and helped me take myself out of the equation and focus on helping other folks. And that's when I realized that service or being of service actually helps to heal. So fast forward about 3 months later, on June 16th, 2025, I was sitting in the bleachers at my daughter's practice. No phone, no more grief books, because at this point I've read all of them. I was just sitting there rereading a copy of Think and Grow Rich. And I read it so many times, but, I just read it for inspiration, not really paying attention as I should. I was kind of just breezing through it, if I'm being completely honest. But a single line struck me like lightning. It's something that never jumped out at me before. And the line was, a goal is just a dream with a deadline. Now, literally, my body shook. I felt like I got hit by a stroke of lightning, and my body literally shook. It was one of those rare moments where everything just began to click in your head, not just in your head, but in my soul. I felt like a inner calling of saying, like, this is it. This is how you serve. This is how you add value. And also, I felt like it was a nudge of saying, get out of your feelings. Go help somebody. Go do something about it. Go help somebody else, and also heal yourself at the same time and quit moping around, because this is what I've been doing, honestly, the last 3 months. Like any little thing that would come up, if I didn't show it or express it outwardly, I would be feeling it internally from the smallest things, from listening to a song. For example, I was listening to a song by the Isley Brothers, Journey to Atlantis. That song came on, and luckily I was in the car by myself. I just began to bawl out crying, and it was so many moments like that over these past few months. But this was a rare moment where I felt as if, okay, it's time to do something now. It's time to act and time to add some values to others. So after I had that moment in the bleachers watching my daughter's practice and that line sticking out to me, the goal is just a dream. I'm with the deadline in the book, Think and Grow Rich. I took action. That night, I went ahead and bought the domain. And I didn't really have an idea what I would do with it, if I'm being completely honest. No business plan, no team, but I bought the domain, and I just had this conviction that I was going to do something with it. And that sentence became, without what I would follow going forward, a goal is just a dream with a deadline, pretty much not to leave things undone because it's always going to remain a dream until you take action. So I wrote that sentence and it became the DNA for everything that will follow from my help statement where I help high achievers visualize their dreams, align their identity with dreams, eliminate sabotage, and put execution over everything. Because until you execute and take action, nothing matters. Nobody's going to clap for you. You're not going to get a just close enough award. That doesn't exist. People only want to cheer for you. People only want to salute you, give you credit, give you praise when you cross the finish line. And none of that matters until you do. And that becomes a major sticking point with me. And it's something that stayed with me, of course, through the loss of my father. All right. So after buying the domain, the next morning I opened up an email and it was the email from Department of Veteran Affairs. If you guys don't know, I'm in Army. I serve. I'm a veteran. I serve the United States Army as well as the United States Navy. And in that email that I saw from the Department of Veteran Affairs, it read mail undeliverable. And that was pretty interesting because I hadn't received any mail. I had no idea what they were talking about. So I went ahead and I called the VA just to kind of get some heads up on what was taking place. I spoke to a nice rep and they pretty much told me due to the Writ Assault Act, you've been granted 12 more months of 9/11, post 9/11 GI Bill eligibility. And what that meant to me was I can do 12 more months of a school or get a certification if I wanted to go that route. And it was good to have that, have being granted that because I felt like I was ready to pivot to something else, something more meaningful, centered around, of course, helping people, being of service and adding value. And initially, if I'm being honest, I had 1 month left to finish up an MBA from Western Governors University. So initially, I thought like this is a great opportunity to do that. That's plenty of time to finish up one semester. So I thought about it and then shut it down right away because I thought to myself, I don't want to get another degree. I don't want to get another certification that I'm not going to use and try to boost my credentials or resume, any of that stuff. I wanted to make change, add value, and really serve people. So I figured MBA wasn't it for me. It just wasn't in the cards. A new certification wasn't in the cards because it was not about credentials. It was about creating the impact. So I waited, I prayed on it, and I just asked for some guidance and direction. And of course, 2 days later, an email arrived, and the subject line of that email, again, one of those moments just reading, I felt like I kind of tensed up because it was really manifesting or working out in a way where I couldn't second guess it. Like I couldn't say, well, maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. It was clear that a path was being laid out to me. And it made it almost fail proof is the best way I can describe it. And the subject line said, what you'll gain from the July 2025 hypnotherapy program. And I thought for a second, what is this program that we're talking about, first of all? And of course, I've heard of hypnotherapy before and certain strategies from reading this book right here, a great read if you guys can ever get around to it. It's called The Silver Mind Control Method. Amazing book. And I learned about concepts using hypnosis in that book. Prior, I learned about things like NLP. So these things were not foreign to me. It was about the program and joining a program where I could potentially learn hypnotherapy is something that never really crossed my mind. All right. And in that email that was sent over to me, it was three main things that stuck out to me. And it was kind of broken down that bullet points were made it easy to scan and read. The first line said personal growth and healing. I thought that was interesting, always looking to get better and better. The second one was new career with purpose. And the third one was complete flexibility. Now, you guys probably tracking by now, a new career with purpose really stood out to me based on all these things I have been going through and how I felt. I don't want to say joy is probably not the best word, but relief and healing and grief and just trying to put myself back together from honestly feeling like really vulnerable and weak. At 40 years old, my dad was 59 when he passed, God rest his soul. I felt in a lot of ways like a little kid again, like crying uncontrollably. Like I'm not talking about shed a tear and wipe it off. I'm talking about snot, boogers, the whole nine, like really just thinking about opportunities where we could have connected more, connected better. Opportunities that I missed out on that I will never get a second chance. And also to take it a little bit deeper, the opportunities that my daughters would not have with him. So these things really impacted me. And in some ways, I would just break down and feel like a 7 or 8 year old kid having a tantrum. It was real messy for a few months, guys, and I'm just being completely transparent with you. But again, a new career with purpose really stood out with me, and it pretty much grabbed me. And again, it was one of those things where I felt like things were just aligning for me. And it's making it so clear to me that I need to be walking this path and nothing else, no shiny objects on either side matter. I need to continue to walk this path. And I did. So after getting that email, I was, of course, I was just really happy and really grateful that the answers that I was asking for was coming around, and I ain't had to go looking for them. It was just like showing up for me saying, it's right here, take action. So I did. I went ahead and called the person that sent me that email, which was the director of admissions at a school called the Institute of Interpersonal Hypnotherapy. So I called right away. The woman who sent the email actually answered the phone. Her voice was so calm. She was so grounded and kind. And I remember thinking to myself, could I ever be that grounded? Could I ever be so kind to a stranger, that present? And I thought, if this what it looks like on the other side of hypnotherapy training, how could that impact me on my day to day? Just interactions with my children, first and foremost, my family, or even strangers on the street. If I can move like that on a day to day basis, be that kind, grounded, and centered with other people, how can I impact other people going forward? What would that look like for me? What could that do? And I just felt like this is where I need to be. So I beat around the bush for a little bit because I didn't want to be disappointed. I didn't want her to say, well, that school's all booked is what I was thinking, because initially I'm thinking this is way too good to be true. Everything's lining up so perfectly. So I expected her to shut me down. So I beat around the bush long enough, and I finally got to it. And I, asked her, does your school accept the post 9/11 GI Bill? And she said, no, we do not. And I was like, man, initially I'm thinking like, man, that sucks. I just got to pay out of pocket. That was my thought. I just need to pay out of pocket. I need to figure it out. But then she said, there's just one school that does. And that was all I needed to hear. So without hesitation, I said to myself, that's the school I'm going to. They take post 9/11 GI Bill. They anything is nice as what she's been to me, and kind, and centered and grounded, and all those things we talked about not too long ago. This is where I need to be. So before we even hung up the phone, I told myself I'm going to that school. So I needed to reach out. So I did. I called that same day, and as fate will have it, 1 week later I was enrolled and I was starting classes. I'm talking about July 1st, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Foundations of Hypnotherapy 101. And that night, everything began to click. Everything became to click. This path that I've been walking on these last few months, it feels like somebody was pulling strings from me. My dad was pulling strings from me is what it felt like laying this out for you. I'm gonna make it clear as day, son, so you don't mess this up. That's what I feel like he was doing. And, it brought me back, just being in that foundational class. It brought me back to where when I was actually still on active duty. Like I told you guys earlier, I served in the United States Army and the United States Navy previously. And then both of those branches, before I would transition, I was actually lucky enough, fortunate enough, and honored enough to be an instructor in both branches. And basically my role as an instructor was to help new soldiers or sailors get the foundations of the unit that they were signing up for. So help them get foundational knowledge, help them get squared away, and show them, you can be great from here. You can come in not knowing anything about the unit or what do we do specifically, and you can leave here with all the tools to be great. And across both branches, I would say I probably trained over 3,000 service members. And again, I just watched young recruits arrive uncertain and leave confident. And sometimes, I kid you not, I'll look up at the sky, just whisper to myself, like, thank God that I get to do this. Like, I have the privilege to do this. Sometimes I would say to myself, like, man, I get paid to do this. It was amazing to me, especially times where particularly we would have a soldier not be as confident in a rifle movement or whatever the case may be. But when it came time for them to pass whatever exam, for them to move on to the next process, to see them be confident, to see the wheels turn and them come out on the other side was everything for me. It was painted right there. Like, man, this soldier, this individual was uncertain of themselves. Now that same soldier can go teach somebody else. it was the best feeling in the world to really see it come full circle. Like I was able to teach someone who was unconfident in an area of their life, and they become so confident that they can go and teach another one. Man, it's the best feeling in the world for me. And again, I used to think to myself like, I get paid to do this. I get paid to do this. And that was one of the times, those were one of the times in my life where, man, I got to serve, and it just felt unreal. Like, I don't know what your vice is. I don't know if it's drugs, alcohol, but it felt like in those moments of teaching and watching people learn and progress and grow, it was a vice for me. And I felt like this opportunity would be a second chance or a third chance, if I'm being completely honest. This opportunity of learning hypnotherapy and acquiring all these different skills and all these tools and techniques became that third thing for me. And that's something that I've learned, but it's just different now. It's not marching around with rifles or how to do a uniform or anything like that. It's helping people rewire their mind to help them become the best versions of themselves. That's all it is. That's all hypnotherapy is to me. Helping people rewire their mind and mindsets to become that best version of themselves. And I work with quite a few people now. I've seen people just transform how they move as far as being confident, whether it be public speaking was a big one. I've seen that a few times. Public speaking, confidence, things like that. To see people show up one way and leave another has to be one of the greatest feelings in the world, that knowing that you took part of that. For me, that's like whoever helped, probably his dad, but whoever helped Steph Curry learn how to shoot so well, to see him just knock down three after three and be seen as one of the greatest shooters ever, to say that, like, man, I played a part in that. I helped him become so great. Obviously not take all the credit, but you was a part of the process. You helped. That's just an amazing feeling to help people win, to help people succeed and become the best version of themselves. And along the process of me arriving where I am just 7 months ago, I feel like it's something much larger than me that's happening. I feel like I've been aligned with something that gives me purpose, something that gives me a mission, not just something to do. Because we could wake up to do anything from 9 to 5, but when you have a mission for something, you feel even more driven. And then when you have the tools to do so in a way that's not really talked about, is just the perfect combination in my eyes, in my mind. All right. And now it just became clear to me that Dream with a Deadline is more of a movement. And it was built on just pillars that I learned. One, from my time in the military, learning things, teaching other people and watching other people be able to complete that cycle. The systems that we put in place, the frameworks that we use to make the follow through and the growth inevitable. And also how hypnosis helps to align your subconscious mind with your goals. And those are things that I'm really going to dive into a lot deeper going forward. I'm going to talk to you guys about things called, of course, the subconscious mind and the critical mind, and how powerful and impactful those two things can be, and how if you get them to align and work together, it's all success for you. It's all she wrote. It's going to be win after win after win. And I want to see you do it. I want to hear about your successes, your wins, your growth, your progression. That thing is extremely important. It's one thing to make a living, but to help people make a living is the greatest thing that you can do in this world, I believe. All right. And over these 7 months, I've learned so many things. Even before that, what I've learned was you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your system. So having systems in place, subconscious systems in place, just makes the success feel natural and automatic. And if you don't have them systems in place and those systems aren't in line with this identity that you're trying to become, it's an uphill battle. It's a complete uphill battle. And that's where I come in at, because this isn't about motivation. It's subconscious engineering. It's about learning how your mind really works and actually how to make it work for your best interest instead of against you. It's about reprogramming that code that's running your habits, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and making sure that your decisions align with the you that you're becoming, that best version of yourself that we talked about earlier. Because once you make that shift subconsciously, it has no choice but to follow. And if we program it subconsciously through hypnosis, it's going to happen automatically and make it feel completely natural. Now, every week, I help people uninstall identities that keep them stuck and install new ones to help them become the best version of themselves. And if you ever started something where you couldn't sustain it, if you ever felt trapped in a loop of almost being there, almost crossing the finish line, you guys are in the right place, because dreams don't die from lack of ambition. They die from lack of follow through. And that's what we can help you with here. Because when you change your subconscious, you change the trajectory for your entire life. And I'm just rooting for you. I'm looking forward to talking with people, interacting. Always leave comments. You can follow me, of course, on Instagram, all the socials. I'm Derrick Wali or Derrick Wali Anderson. I'm not hard to find, but reach out if you have any questions. I'm dedicated to helping folks, serving, and helping you become the best version of yourself. Any questions, there'll be a link in the description. If you want a brief introduction more about the way I see things in my mind and getting things done, you can check out my book. It's on Amazon. It's called Never Wait for Monday, which is something that I struggled with because I would put things off and say, oh, I'll get around to it Monday. Monday's the start of a new week. I'll start it Monday. Kind of how people say, oh, I'll start this new thing January 1st, but it never comes, because it's not about the day that you take action. It's about the intention and the follow through of that action. And it's super important. Feel free to reach out, leave a comment, check for my book, or if you want to book a session, head over to dreamwiththedeadline.com/work with me. And I'll be looking forward to hearing back from you guys. Remember, dream big, act fast, and finish what matters. I'll see you on the next one.